Hello and welcome to the One Stroke Flower Training. My name's Donna and I'm a nail educator in the Netherlands. I've been doing this now for the past few years, and nails are my passion and nail art, and I love to share that with others. I have got a school for teaching others to become nail technicians, and in that nail school I also give trainings, and that's technical trainings for the nails, and I also give nail art workshops. I've also got a nail salon and I've had that since 2011, and I absolutely love working in the salon with my customers. And together with my husband we also run a web shop in nail products. This flower training is aimed at beginners but also at those who are more experienced with nail art. And it's a kind of art that you will be able to use and do it on your friend's nails, but you could also do it on customers' nails. It's a technique which does require a lot of practice, but once you've practiced it and you're feeling very competent, it's a nice quick technique. At least the way that I'm showing you, it will be nice and quick, and it will be a way in which you will be able to earn extra money. I will take you step by step through all the things that you need to do this. So to start with, I will show you which brushes are available and which brushes you can use and the certain tools. I will show you the type of paint that you can use, and also I'll show you exactly how you can set up your work area. Near the end of the training I will show you how to load and how to blend the colours on your brush to give you a beautiful effect, and also how to clean and store your brushes. This training consists of 4 designs. I wish you lots of fun with the training and I hope you really enjoy it. It's handy when you buy a one-stroke brush to make sure it's synthetic and that the bristles are made of nylon. Nylon, it's a good material, it's nice and durable, which means your brush will last you quite a while, and it will also keep its shape. It will be nice and flexible to work with, and it will also hold the paint which is needed. If you do buy a brush and you have any hairs which are sticking out, then it's handy to cut the hairs away with a pair of scissors. Here you can see an angular brush, well, 2 angular brushes and brushes which are straight. The brushes have different sizes, so you can see some are wider than others. And when you work with a wider brush, then it's a lot easier if you're a beginner. Once you've mastered how to work with a wider brush, then you can move on to a smaller brush. Brushes also have a different length of bristles, so some have longer bristles, like this one, than that one. The brushes with a longer bristle are much more flexible than those with a shorter bristle. And brushes also have different handles, so some have a wooden handle, some have metal handles or even plastic, and which brush you choose to work with, it's really your own preference. It doesn't matter. It's handy to just try working with different brushes and see which one you prefer. These will make the petals for the flowers and for the leaves. We will also add detail to our designs, and that we will do with a detailer brush. This brush has got a lovely thin bristle, very thin. This is about a size 0, or you could use a 00 for this training. And to add even more details, we can use a dotting tool, just to bring the design to life. I'm going to talk about paint. When doing one stroke, you need to use acrylic paint. And there are many different types available, from very cheap, quite cheap, to quite expensive. But there is a difference in the quality of the paints. Some paints come in tubes, in pots or in bottles. During this training we'll be working from paints in a bottle. I like to use these. It's very handy to use. And the paints which I'll be using have got a good consistency, which means they're nice and thick. When I open this, you can see what I mean. Squeeze it. And we can see that when I come into this paint with my brush, it's lovely and thick. It's not runny. It's just nice and thick, and that's what you want. It's got a lovely deep colour, which means it's nicely pigmented, which is handy for one stroke, because with one stroke you often need to go over the petals twice, but that's then a maximum if you've got a good quality paint. When choosing a brand of paint to use, it's nice to use a brand which offers a good range of colours. I will further explain about how to load your brush with paint in one of the next videos. Tile's wonky. How to set up your work area. There are various ways in which you can do this. And as again, start again. Setting up your work area. There are various ways in which you can set up your area for painting, and I'm just going to show you a few options. Some people like to paint directly onto a tile, for example, or a plate or a palette. I'm just going to squeeze out a small amount of paint. There we go. And what you can see, obviously you've got a lovely smooth surface. You can pick up your paint and you can, let me just show you, pick up your paint and you can work with it on your tile. Pick it up and work with it on your tile. Some people like to work like this. It is okay if you're working nice and quickly and just doing a couple of flowers. But if you take longer to do your designs, then the paint will slowly start to dry up on the tile. And obviously, once you've finished working like this paint will need to be thrown away because it will start to get hard and then you can't reuse it. I'll show you how I like to work. Here I've got a tin. It's just a plain old pencil tin. And what I like to do is I like to work on a wet area so that I can keep working for a long time. So what I do is I put into it a piece of kitchen towel, which I like to double up my kitchen towel. And I do work with quite a thick towel. I double it up and I add a little bit of water so that I've got a wet area. On top of that wet area, we place a piece of baking paper. I call it baking paper, some people call it parchment paper. But anyway, you can see the wet area. And on top, and what I also like to do is here, I've got a little bit more kitchen towel, which I place up here. And I've also got some water. So what I do when I'm working is I get my paint, put it onto the area which is wet, and then I can pick up paint and I can blend my paint. Well, I'm not blending, I'm just showing you that you can work with your paint on the wet area. Just like this. And if you feel that it's becoming a bit too watery, you can always go on to the area which is a bit drier. I will explain to you in the designs how to tell if the paint is watery or if it's too thick. Yeah. What we do is once you've done that, you can wipe your brush nice and clean on a kitchen towel. Wash your brush if necessary. Wipe off the excess colour. And then you can, so then you're done. I've got a little lid for this pot of water, which means I'm always ready to go if anybody wants a nice one-stroke nail art. When I've finished working, I can remove this, close my tin, make sure it's nicely closed, and your paint will stay fresh for at least 3 days. Once you open it again after those days, the paint will still be nice and have a good consistency. If you have used too much water, there is a chance that it is a little bit watery, but that's not a problem. You just need to add a dot more paint and then you're ready to go. Now we'll talk about your brush, how to prepare your brush, how to load and blend the paints, and how to clean and store your brush. For this training, I'm going to use now the size 4, so we're going to be working with the larger size brushes, both the straight and the angular. First of all, when you buy a new brush, they are usually covered in a kind of a wax, and that's to keep the hairs together during transportation. And what you need to do is to make sure that you always get rid of that the first time before you use a new brush. So how you do that is you will usually just break the seal on the hairs on your brush. This is not a brand new brush, but what you will do is you would just get a hold of the bristles. You just gently move them forwards and backwards, and you will feel it cracking in between your fingers. So that will spread the hairs. What you do after that is you then keep brushing and brushing. You keep doing this until all the dust, all the wax has gone away from the hairs. It could take a couple of minutes. It really depends on what type of brush you've got and how well it's been coated. So you just keep going and going. So that you would do to your new brush. Obviously, as I said, these brushes I have used plenty of times. So I'm just going to show you what you do next with the new brush. What you would do is you'd then just pop it into some water, and then you just keep on wiping it clean on your tissue or on your kitchen roll. You just keep wiping it nice and clean. Just keep going until the brush is completely clean. This could take a few times. Maybe you need to do it 5 times or so. It really depends, but you just need to do it until you feel and until you can see that there's nothing left in your brush. Once you've done that, you can just push the hairs together between your thumb and your finger, and then the brush is ready for you to use. You can always just rest it laying down flat. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to show you how to load and to blend the paint on your brush. Here I'm working on the little pencil tin, which I'd shown you in a previous video. And I've already put some water in here, and I've already put the baking paper on top, so we can just get straight to it. I've got some paint, which I've already given a good shake in advance. And what I do is I just put on a small amount of the paint that we need. There we go. And obviously we need 2 colours now because we are going to be doing the one stroke practicing. Let's just put another bit of colour here. Right. How to load your brush with paint and to blend the colours. First of all, you dip your brush into some water, and the next step is to dab the water out of the brush on both sides. So we do one side and then the other side, and then you've got enough water in your brush for picking up the paint. What you do is, just using the small corner of the brush, we go into the one colour, just go in a little bit more, that's it, and then we go turn the brush around and we go onto the other side. It looks like this. The paint is just about touching in the middle, which is fine. It can be just about touching or not quite touching. So now we're going to blend the colours together. So with the light pressing down, you just move back and forth. We've got lines which are both more or less equally thick, which is fine. We go in the one direction and then we bring it back and we blend in the other direction. And we can go back again. The brush is not fully loaded yet with paint, so we need to go back in, making sure the orange side goes into the orange corner. Turn it around, the yellow into the yellow corner, and then we repeat the step that we've just done. And what we're trying to do now is to make sure the hair is getting nicely distributed, make sure the paint, is getting nicely distributed between all of the hairs, so that we've got enough paint in there for being able to paint the flowers. Just do the same again. And this brush is now fully loaded. If we now go to make petals, we can see that we will have slightly more orange and a little bit less yellow if the petals. But there is quite a strong line in the middle, so it would be nice if that's blended a little bit more. So what we do is, for example, I can push upwards slightly, so I'm just moving upwards a little bit more into my orange, for example, just to blend that line a little bit more, so that we'll get a much softer line. I'm going to go back into the paint again and show you something else. So what we do is we go back in again. And the movement you want is to have your hairs completely straight to the paper, which I will try to do, but without my hand covering too much. Let me see. So we go straight, and then we add pressure, so it's straight, add pressure, push down, and then slowly let the hairs come back up again, so that the brush is straight again. I'll just repeat that. Let's see, it's straight, push down, let the hairs come up, nice and straight. What you can see is that there's no gaps in between the paint. It's a nice full colour, which means that your brush was fully loaded with paint and it's the right consistency to work with. I'm going to show you what it looks like if it becomes a bit too dry. Okay, so I'm just going to go straight. I'm going to press down, move it across, but I'm going to keep going, so that it all starts to become drier. Can you see what's happened? It's become a lot more see-through, which means it's time to reload your brush. You just go straight back into your paint. At this point, there's no need to add water to the brush. Just go straight back in. You go straight, press down, oops. Let the hairs go straight again and pick up. What you can do is, if you do notice that it's becoming too dry and the wet area is not keeping it wet enough, you can just go into your water really quickly. I've just gone into the water. The tip of my brush just went straight into the water. Let me show you actually. I just go like this, tip. And then you just pat this on your paper. You don't need to rub it around, just pat it so that you've still got the paint on there. You can just go straight back into your paint again. And maybe now you just need to load your brush maybe 1 or 2 times. So we'll just load it here, blend the colours in. Here we are. Just go back and forth, and then you should be able to paint another line, a little one. So, okay, what we're going to do now is, actually I'm just going to show you something else. I'm just going to get more paint on the brush. Just blend it, that's it. Okay, if you add more pressure to the brush, you'll get a wider line. So I'll just show you that, a wider line. Let me see, sorry, my hand, try to move my hand out of the way. I'm going to add a lot of pressure. You see? And the line is quite wide. The brush is a little bit dry, I think, so let me just add a dot of water and get a little bit more paint. Okay, and if you want your line, let me say, just a little bit narrower, then you try to just press lightly. Let's see. We just go like this and just press lightly. It should give you a slightly narrower line than the one above. It's just a slight difference, but it could be nice and handy to know that little trick. Let me show you now. Let's have a look. What I'm going to do is show you how you can practice some strokes. So first of all, we're going to practice some straight strokes. I've got a tip here which has been prepared earlier. It's just with a bit of gel polish, some top coat, which I've buffed up. So now we're working on a surface which has been slightly roughened. So I'm going to load the brush. So let's just go in and load it nicely. And as you notice, I do just go back and forth on areas which I've worked on before. That's absolutely fine. Just reload it again. And what we can do on here is we can just hold the hair straight, just get a starting point, push across, and let your hairs go straight again in the air. So we can do that again. It's just straight hairs, it's like a 90-degree angle to the tip, push down, and then straight again. You can do a bit of a longer line, do the same thing again. I'm just going to blend, just on the same area, not a problem. Just straight, go across a bit further this time, straight, and there we go. We've got 3 lines. You can also, I'm just going to load my brush again a little bit. I'm just going straight onto the same area. Let me see. Now it feels a little bit dry because I can feel a bit of resistance. So just add a little bit more paint, just a little bit more. And what you also can do is practice this, but in the other direction. I will try not to cover up too much what I'm doing so you can see, but we just press, let's see, lightly, push down, and you've got another line, and we do the same again here. You see, what you want to do is to just practice this on plenty of tips, and what you want to make sure is that you've got no patches where you don't have any paint, because if you do, then you're working too dry. You need to add a bit more water to your brush. And I can also show you now very quickly a line where I've just actually added quite a lot of water. I've just done it now on purpose to show you what it looks like if you're working too wet. So let's do that. You've got your brush with paint, and this is a line which is too wet. I'm going to press down, come across. Can you see that? It's very, very watery looking. We don't want that. So what we need to do is we need to dry our brush out. So you can just go and dab out the excess water. You can go back into your paint again, load it, blend it, and carry on. So this is what you can practice. And once I've finished, we always need to make sure that we clean our brush. So what we do is we just put it into the water, swill it around, give it a really good swill. Because what you want is you never want paint to dry out on your bristles on your brush, because that can just ruin your brush. I've given it a good swill, and I'm just going to wipe it back and forth a few times on my kitchen towel. It can sometimes happen that paint gets stuck into the hairs, and all you need to do is use a little bit of baby shampoo to wash it out, to clean it out. And if unfortunately you've forgotten to keep your brush wet and paint has got stuck in there for quite a while, you can always use some acetone or monomer to clean the brush. So you would just never rest your brush into a container. Just hold it, just put it into a small, maybe a dappen dish, and then you can just, you will then, hopefully the paint will loosen from your brush. So once you've done that and your brush looks a bit cleaner, then after that you can wash it with baby shampoo and then just swill it off under a bit of water. Dab it off, push your hairs into shape, and then your brush is ready for storage. You can store it lying flat, or you can store it hanging. We can practice a few petals and leaves, which we will use for the designs. So for this first petal, we're going to be using a small angled brush. I've got some paint. I've chosen here orange, a red colour and yellow to start with. You can use any two colours you wish, it really doesn't matter as long as they're two contrasting colours. I'm just loading my brush, just wetting my brush, sorry, and now I'm going to load it. I'll use some red on the inside and yellow on the outside, and then we just blend. Let's see. And we'll do this 3 times. For the first shape, we will do a little, it looks a bit like a triangle. So I can just make 2 lines here, like that. 1, 2. And we're just going to basically just fill it in. So first of all, your brush is at a 90-degree angle to start off with. Then you press it down gently at a 45-degree angle to the nail. Really light, just adding a few touches, and then at the end you just bring your brush back up again to finish it off at a 90-degree angle. I'll just do it again. I'll make two little lines. So we'll go from here to there. Just make it slightly wider this time. Just load my brush. Brush is straight, press it down, 45-degree angle. And there you go. I'll just do one more. Load the brush. This time I won't draw any extra lines. You just start off and you try to keep the center of the petal. Try not to move that area too much. You're kind of twisting the brush in your hands as you go around. With one stroke technique, you always wait for your first layer of paint to dry, and then you move, and then you go over it again so that you get a nice coverage. So while waiting for this to dry, I'll just show you another petal. I'll use a straight angled brush for this, a straight one. Load your brush. We will do a petal which is a bit wider now, so we'll go from here to about there. And what we'll do is we will press a bit harder with this one. So we'll start off, we press a bit harder and try to wiggle the top line, the yellow, a bit more than the previous petal. Want a bit more wiggle, and then at the end straighten up your brush again. I'll just do that again, just reload my brush. And go from here to there. We wiggle the yellow more, up and down, that's where you're concentrating on. To get a sort of a nice playful edge to the petal. That's what we want. Of course, we can go over the one of the first three petals which we've done. I'll just go over it so that you can see a bit more depth of colour. Oops. That's it. We'll just go over the first petal. And that's it. And then we'll go back and I'll do one of these. Let's see, maybe my brush is, no, we'll just dampen it a little bit again. and reload. Just go over the same lines as before and wiggle. You can keep contact or you can lift your brush up and down each time, it doesn't matter. Just play around with the technique and find out what you prefer. So there's two shapes. I will just show you another shape for a petal of another shape for a petal. Let's move that to the side. We can also do, yeah, you could say this is a kind of a little rosebud shape. We'll just use the same colours as previous. With this one, we're going to do a sort of a U shape. So we'll go, the brush is straight. We press it and then lift it up, letting the hairs go straight, stand straight at the end at 90 degrees. Okay, I'll do that again. The brush is straight, 90 degrees to the nail. Then you apply a little bit of pressure, concentrating on the out on the yellow. Then you let the bristles go 90 degrees again to the nail and gently lift it up. We can do this in the opposite direction in the shape of a U. So we can, here, we can start at the bottom. We can press down and then gently release, and we've got a little U shape going on. And what we can do is we join these two shapes up together, because then you will get like a rosebud shape. So I'll use yeah, the first one that I've done. I'll just go over it for intensity of colour. Just go over it like this. And we just wait for it to dry a little bit. While it's drying, I will just load my brush again. Now we will do this shape under here to get a little rosebud kind of shape. So just holding your brush, see that, yeah, nice and straight. We do a U shape. And then we catch it, let it go straight up to the other corner. That's it. We should wait for that to dry. And then we go over it again. So we just go over the same petal again. There you have it. So those are a few petal shapes. I will now show you a couple of leaf shapes. Let me leave those there so you can still see them. I'm just going to give my brushes a quick swill because you don't want them to dry up in between as you're working, otherwise you can ruin your brush. I'll take a straight brush for this one. And for the leaf we can use some green on the one side, a bit of yellow on the other. A bit of green and yellow. Right, for this leaf shape, all we're going to do is, let's see, we're just going to go with a line here to here. While placing this, I can feel that my brush is slightly dry, so I'm just add a tiny dot of water, and I'll just reload it slightly. And that should be okay. Now, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to wiggle my brush upwards towards the top line. So we just do a wiggle and then lift it up again to 90 degrees. I'll just do that again. First it's straight, then we press and then slowly release. Just waiting for the first one to dry slightly. Hopefully I can go over it now. Let's try again. We'll just do this exactly the same again. Add pressure and release. Brush is straight. Add pressure and release. I'm going to do another leaf shape. I'll take the angled brush this time. As I say, this little leaf shape, you can do it with angle or straight. It's really up to you, doesn't really matter which one you use. Let's see, we'll do some green on the inside and a little bit of yellow on the outside. The longer length of the brush then is coated. Let's blend the colours. Let's see. Okay, so for this leaf shape, I'm going to gently press up and down. And what we can do now is then go in the opposite direction. So we're going to push the green towards the middle. The brush again is I think it's at about 45-degree angle to the nail. Just do that again. I'm just going to dampen my brush a little bit. Blend the colours. Okay, I'll do it again. This time I can do it with an action where you pick up your brush each time. So I will push a bit, pick it up, push down, pick up, push down, pick up. And then we turn the brush around and we go towards the middle now in the opposite direction. Now hopefully the first leaf is drying nicely, because I want to go over it again. Just go over it again. Oops. So. Right, so we go over the second leaf. Okay, that's a general little leaf shape. That's all we need. On this one I've put yellow on the outside. Obviously you can always put yellow on the inside and green on the outside. There's lots of different combinations that you can do. So here you have it. Here's a few different leaves and petals for you to practice these and then have fun with making the designs.